Hello, everyone. Are you like me and you are so ready to see these temperatures to start cooling off? I know I am. I am so excited for this time of the year where I can start picking up my yarn and my crochet hook and start looking forward to designing or crocheting new accessories like hats and ear warmers, towels, scarves. How about some nice wraps to keep the chill off of our shoulders? Lapgans, even little mittens are gloves for our hands. This time of the year, my creative juices start going crazy because these are the things that I really enjoy creating. I love making hats. They're probably my most number one favorite thing to make. Number one, I find them to be quick. Number two, there are so many stitch patterns out there that you can put together. Whether you're looking at someone else's pattern to get some kind of idea, or you just sit down and start playing around with your yarn and your hook, it doesn't matter. I just love creating hats. Ear warmers, folks, they're a snap. Just find yourself a stitch that you really like. Do yourself up a rectangle, stitch it together. You can have it flat, you can twist it and put it up there. You can stick a bow or a button on it. There are so many things that you can do with ear warmers. The same way with a scarf, a cardigan, a sweater, an afghan. Doesn't matter. There are so many beautiful things that can be created at this time of the year. If you're ready for a change in your decor, maybe you want to change up some colors. Maybe it's time for you to snazz up your hat collection. Put on a different scarf, whether it's a bulky weight or a very nice flowing fingering weight. It doesn't matter. There are just so many things that we can create during the cooler months of the year because, I don't know, for me, it's just a lot more fun. So I have come up with this series, "'Tis the Season," and not just for Christmas, but for all of these cooler months that are about to hit us, where we can start enjoying dressing up with different accessories such as our hats and our scarves and our mittens, and not only just to make them for ourselves, but where we can share them as gifts or give them to just anyone we see on the street. They also make great items for charities, such as the homeless shelters. How about a few mats or small blankets for your humane society or pet rescues? There are just so many things that we can do at this time of year that will benefit more than just ourselves. So, if you're ready to catch to see what this week's design is, go ahead. I'm going to pause the video here for just a moment. You're going to see my cute little avatar intermission picture pop up here for just a sec while we go and grab us some yarn, our favorite crochet hook, and see what this week's project is all about. I'll be back with you in just a minute, so get ready. Welcome back. So what I have for you today in the first of the "'Tis the Season" for making all things nice and snuggly for us to be out in the cooler temperatures with is my beanie. Now this beanie is called the Double Your Blessings beanie because I use a combination of half double crochets, single crochets, and the double crochet Trinity stitch. Now don't be put off by that stitch. You can do it. If you've ever done a double crochet 3 together, you can do this double crochet Trinity stitch. There's just a little variation of what we do in order to create this pretty little pattern right here that you're going to see throughout the body of the beanie. Then we're going to use half double crochets and a decrease technique to finish off the crown, and that's what we will come up with. Now this pattern is awesome in solid colors. You can also do it in variegateds. Now, I haven't tried it in an ombre, and the only reason is because this is a hat. You may not see the pretty ombre effect in the yarn that you might select. Now, I'm not saying it can't be done, but I'm just saying I don't normally make hats with ombres. But I do love variegated and stripes and obviously solid colors. Now, this beanie is made using a size 19-inch head, and I will give you the rest of the particulars here in just a moment. So if you are ready with some yarn, pair of scissors, crochet hook, and a darning needle, we can get started. So hop right on over there. See you in a minute. All right, so I am back with the yarn that I've chosen to use. I have two different size hooks, and I'll explain that to you in just a moment. I have a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle, which I will be using in just a little bit. So let me move this off to the side. Now, we're going to be making a beanie because, as I told you in the intro, hats are my favorite thing to make. Now, I won't be inundating you with a whole bunch of hat patterns, but I did want to kick off this series with one of my designs. Now, I am going to be using a 100% acrylic yarn. This is Walmart's Mainstay. It has 397 yards or 363 meters. It is a 7-ounce skein or 198.4 grams. Now, this is a medium 4-weight. Hopefully you can read these needle sizes better than I can. I believe this says it is a US 9 if you were to use this yarn for knitting. And it also recommends an eye hook for this particular yarn. Now, the beanie that we are going to be making today is a bottom up beanie with about a 2-inch brim, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But the name of this beanie is titled Double the Blessings Beanie. And the reason why I called this the Double the Blessing Beanie is because we are going to be using the double Trinity stitch. Now, don't be put off by that name, because if you can do a double crochet, you can definitely do the double Trinity crochet stitch. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And of course, we'll be working with chains and single crochets, half double crochets, and yes, that's all we're going to be working with. All right, so as I mentioned, I have two hook sizes here for you. Now, these are both from Furls. This is their Rosewood wood collection. I do have a complete set, and I will leave a link for you down in the description box where if you're interested in Furls hooks, these are, as you can see, inline hooks, which is the reason why I like them so much. But I am going to be starting out my hat with the smaller size, the H size, to make the brim. I just like the fact that it makes the brim a little tighter, and therefore that's the reason why I go down a hook size for my brim. And then I will switch over to the eye hook or the 5.5 millimeter hook to start and finish the rest of the hat. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull out, if I can figure out which end this is. I meant to do that earlier. Normally, always look at the right side of the yarn to see if possibly that's where it is. Oh, looky there. I got lucky. Sure is. But I'm going to go ahead and pull out a good length of this because sometimes, as many as you know, you can start pulling, and then all of a sudden a big old chunk will come out on you. So I'm going to take just a minute to pull some of this out. Now, I've chosen this color purple because, as I said, this is called the Double the Blessings hat. And whenever I think of anything that has to do with my faith, I always think of the color purple because I love the fact that it represents royalty. And I do feel like I belong to a very royal, special family. and that is the family of God. So let me get that stuck up over here out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and pull back this yarn, let it lay on top of itself so that it doesn't get all wound up on me. And sorry for the little scratching noise down there underneath. Little Tia likes to stay up under my table here, and she is just getting herself resituated. All right, I believe this is the this is my 5.0 millimeter hooks, which means it's the H, so that's what I'm going to get started with. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to attach our yarn to our hook. So however you like to do that, I'm just going to cross it twice around my fingers and pull up a loop. Now I have myself a nice long tag, which we will take care of later. So I'm going to wrap my working yarn around my left hand, and we're going to get to going. So the first thing we need to do is we need to chain 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then what we're going to do is we are going to start working on the brim. Now, you're going to work in the second chain from the hook, which is this one here. We never count the loop that's on our hook because that's what we work with. So we're going to skip the first chain, and in this second chain from the hook, we're going to work a single crochet. Now you can work right back in the top loop here if you wish, but I always like to turn my chain and lay it flat against my finger and work in this little third loop, or bump as many people like to call it, on the back of my chain. It makes a nice edge, and it gives me something really nice to work into when I get ready to bring my brim together. Now I'm going to work all the way down the chain, putting one single crochet in each chain as I work back to the beginning. And at the end, we will have 9 single crochets. This makes 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I would caution you, if you're working in this back bump here, to take your time. Sometimes it's a little hard to find that bump, especially when we get down here to that very beginning chain where we made our slip knot. 2 more to go. All right, now as I said, down here at your beginning chain, I sometimes have to just play around till I can find it. I believe that's going to be it right there, if I can get my hook between that and the back loop. All right, you know what? I'm just going to take my darning needle here. Make sure I can find that loop. Kind of wiggle her up there out of the way. And work right into it. Whatever we got to do to get the job done, right? All right. Now that's going to give me, I started out with 10 chains, and now I should have 9 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And what we do here on the second row is exactly what we're going to do for the rest of the brim. So back into this very first single crochet here, we're going to put a single crochet, excuse me. Now, for the next 7 single crochets, we're going to work in the back loop. So if you turn your work towards you, you will see that the single crochet has a front loop and a back loop. Front loop is always going to be closest to you, and then your back loop is, of course, away from you. And we want to work in that back loop. And what it's going to create for us is a little ridge all up and down our brim here. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and in this very last single crochet, just like we did in the first single crochet, we're going to go through both loops, the front and the back. I like doing this because I feel like it gives the ends of my brim, whether this ends up being the top edge or the bottom edge, it just makes it a little bit stronger. So we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and in the first single crochet and the last single crochet, you're going to go under both loops of the stitch and make a single crochet. And then in the next 7 stitches across here, we're going to work in the back loop of the single crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, didn't get all of that, 6, and 7. And now in this last single crochet, we're going to go under both the front and the back loop. I'll work it with you one more time, then I'm going to turn you loose. So we chain 1 and turn our work, and again going under both loops of the first single crochet, we make a single crochet. And then we work in the back loop of the next 7 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And in the last single crochet, just like the beginning, we're going to go under both loops and make our last single crochet, chain 1, and turn. And what you're going to see is by working in the back loop, you make this pretty little ridge here. See it even more so on this other side. See the little ridge there? By working in that back loop, it pushes that front loop forward. Now we're going to do this until our brim measures approximately 19 to 19 and a half in length. Now I can't tell you how many rows that will be. For me, I think it's going to work out to be about 68 rows, but we will find out here in just a few moments. All right, so I will meet you back here in just a few minutes, and we will see how many rows we had to come up with for a hat that measures 19 to 19 and a half inches. So we'll be back here in just a little bit. All right, so we are here with my brim. I crocheted 70 rows using my 5.0 millimeter R size H hook. Now I'm going to lay my ruler here, or my measuring tape on this, so that you can see that it does measure 19 inches and just a smidgen. All right, so this will fit a 19-inch head. Now, if you want it to be bigger or smaller, just so long as you have an even number of rows, which will allow us to build the body of our hat, that's all that matters. So I have 70, which brings me up to about 19 inches. Now, because of the stretch on the brim, of course, it will fit maybe one that goes up to about 20 inches. If you want it to be 21, then I would add a couple more rows. All right, so now I'm switching over to my 5.5 millimeter hook, or an eye. And we are going to now take and put the edges together. Get some yarn here. Let me pull this back up so I can get my hook in there. Put that in there, pull her up. Now I'm just going to take and bring my edges together. And I'm going to chain one, just like we've been doing when we turn our work. And then I'm going to slip into both loops of this stitch on the edge of the brim that is facing towards me. And I'm going to come over to this other edge, and in its first stitch here, I am just going to go into this, excuse me, I want the inside loop. There you go, the loop that's closest to this edge here. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's what I thought. I had my yarn. I need to make sure it's on the outside here. So now I'm going to go to this edge right here. And we're going to slip stitch, which means I'm going to yarn over and pull through. And yarn, just keep on pulling the yarn through. So that's a slip stitch. I'm going to go to the next stitch, and I'm only going to pick up this outside loop here and pick up this outside loop on the other and slip stitch again. Going to do that again. Go to this outside loop only and go to this outside loop here. I'll have two loops I'm going through, yarn over, pull through, and pull through that loop. And I'm just going to do that all the way up, lining them up as I go. Now you don't want to slip stitch real tight because you don't want this seam that we're creating to bunch up. Couple of more here. Coming right down, we have this one here. And then we'll have our last one here in just, well, lost it there. There we go. And then just as we did before, I'm going to go through both loops on this side and then just in the one loop on this other side. Pull through all three loops and then through that one. And what we have created is another little ridge here and a cute little ridge here on the outside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this right side out. Excuse me, I said wrong. Got my yarn here all tangled. Get myself untangled here just a minute. Oh, mercy me, what did I do? All right, I don't know what I did there, folks, but mercy, it took me just a moment to get that all straightened out. So now I have turned this seam to the inside because I'm going to be working on this outside here starting. So now once we've joined our edges, we're going to chain one, and at the top of each of these rows, we are going to put one single crochet. And now we want to end up with an even number of stitches. So I should be able to get 70 stitches out of the top of my brim here. Now I want to take just a moment to show you why I went into, remember when we started and ended each of our rib rows? Well, now I'm going to have something really nice and strong to work into along this edge. Also, when my brim is stretching, I won't have such a yucky gap is what I call it, by having worked through both loops on that first single crochet. it's going to give it a nice strong bottom there. So that's the reason why I do it. Now you don't have to do it that way, but that's the reason why I do it. All right, so we're going to start. I'm going to also lay my tail here from the first chains that I did, and I'm just going to kind of crochet it in as I go. Now we're going to go right back into this row here that we created, chain one, I'm sorry. We're going to go right back into this row that we created, and we're going to do a single crochet. And we're going to do this all the way around, putting one single crochet at the top of each row. So some of them are going to go down here in these little valleys that go in between the ribs, and the others are going to go right on top of where the ridge row is, down in the valley, which is between your ridge rows, and then again back up on the top. And we're going to do that all the way around, making sure that when we come back around here that we have an even number of stitches. Now if you don't, you can always sneak another one in right here and it won't be that noticeable. So just continue around, working one single crochet at the top of each row, which means some of them are going to be down in what I call the little valley between the ridges, like that one right there. And the others are going to be right up on top of the ridges, down in the valley and up on the top. So to continue that all the way around, and then right before you get to the end, stop and count your number of single crochets. And then we'll get ready to start building the body of our hat. So I'll see you back right here in just a moment. All right, now first I want to make a little correction. I believe I told you that whenever I made the band of or the brim of my hat, I had 70 rows. No, I had 60 rows. So I'm correcting that right now. But as I told you, so long as you had enough rows to equal 19 inches and that there was an even number, that was okay. So I do apologize for that. If I can find where I said that, I will snip it out. But anyway, wanted to make sure that at least this correction got in here. So I have worked all the way around. I do at the moment have 61 single crochets because of this extra row here that we created whenever we put the brim together here on the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and in this very last space here before I slip stitch into the first single crochet, and I told you this was liable to happen. Yes, I'm going to go ahead, I'm sorry, it took a moment, and add one more single crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into the beginning of our single crochet row. Now, we are going to start for the body of our hat. So chain one, do not turn. We're going to go right back into this same stitch here, and we are going to put in a double crochet. And now we begin our double crochet trinity stitch. And how we create that is by working 3 double crochet cluster together. But it's how we work that cluster that makes it the trinity stitch. So we're going to yarn over and go right back into this same stitch that we just worked our first double crochet. Pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and only pull through 2. We still have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and go into this very next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and work through only 2 loops. This time we have 3 loops on our hook. Going to do it one more time, yarn over, pull up a loop, go through 2 loops on our hook. We have 4 loops left, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops and then lock it down with a chain. And this is our trinity stitch double crochet. We're going to do this again. We're going to yarn over, go right back into that last stitch that we worked in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 2 loops on our hook. Yarn over, go into the very next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. Now we have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over one more time, go into the next loop, pull up a loop, 4 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 4, and then lock in the stitch with a chain 1. One more time. Yarn over, go back into our first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over one more time, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through all 4, and then lock it in with a single crochet. And that's what we're going to work all the way around until we come back to these last 3 stitches. So just continue working your double crochet 3 together or your double crochet trinity stitch. 2 loops into the next stitch, 3 loops into the next stitch, 4 loops, yarn over, pull through all 4, and lock down. I'm going to go through it one more time, and then I'm going to turn you loose till we get to the end. There you go, and I'll meet you right back here in just a few moments. All right, I am coming down to the end of this round, and I'm just going to work a couple more of my trinity stitches here. Yarn over, pull through to 4, chain, and this will be my last double crochet trinity stitch. Now at the end of this last stitch, we will not chain 1. And we will single crochet into, slip stitch into the top of that very first double crochet, chain 1, and turn our work. At the end of each round, you will finish your last double crochet trinity. Do not chain 1 and slip stitch back into your first stitch, which will always be a double crochet. So we've chained 1, turned, we're going to go right back into that stitch and make a double crochet. And just as we did from the first round, we're going to repeat the same pattern. Going to yarn over, start our trinity stitch, go into the top of the trinity stitch from below, and we will also work into the chain 1 space, and this will complete our double crochet trinity stitch. Chain 1, and now go back into the chain 1 space to start the next double crochet trinity stitch, going into the top of the trinity stitch from below, into the chain 1 space, pull through all 4 loops, chain 1, go right back into the chain 1 space, go into the top of the trinity stitch from below, go into the next chain 1 space, finish off the trinity stitch, chain 1. Just like row number 1, we'll be chaining 1, creating our double crochet trinity stitch, chain 1, go back into that chain Go into the top of the Trinity stitch from the row below, into the next chain, finish off our Trinity stitch, chain 1. And that's how we will work all the way around until we get back to these last 2 stitches or so, and I'll show you how we're going to close off and then start the next round. All right, once again, we're coming to the end of the row, so I'm getting ready to make my last. Oh, wait, what is that? 1, 2, 3. Yes, it's right. Just for a moment, it looked funny there. Making my last Trinity, double crochet Trinity stitch. Go into the top there. And remember, we do not chain 1 for the very last stitch. We will just come over here and slip stitch into the beginning, double crochet. Chain 1, turn our work. And we're going to do this now, this same pattern for 4 more rows. Now this is if you only want a regular style beanie. But if you want a slouchy beanie, then I would suggest that you have a total of 7 or 8 rows. If you want it slouchy, or even, however slouchy you wish to make your beanie, that's going to be totally up to you. But I'm just going to make a regular beanie, so I want 6 rows of this Trinity stitch pattern. So we've already made 2 together. I'm going to start you on the 3rd one, and then I will be back after I have a total of 6 Trinity stitch rows, and I'll show you how we'll finish off this hat. Be back in just a minute. All right, so I have finished the body of my hat. Now I want the body, which is from the top of the brim to the last row I worked, to be approximately 5 inches. And as you can see, I'm probably off by a hair or 1/8 of an inch, but that's close enough for me, folks. I don't want it to get any longer. Now, if you would like for this to be a slouchy beanie, you know that all you have to do is add a couple of more rows. I don't think you'd want to add more than really 3, but then, you know your own style. But for me, this is going to make a nice body for my hat. And now we're ready to move on to the crown. So this will be the last time that you will chain 1 and turn, which I have already done. And what we're going to do now at this point is we are going to start the decrease on our crown. And we're going to work our crown using half double crochets because it kind of mimics this texture or style of the stitch that our double crochet Trinity stitch does. So it's going to make a nice easy transition going up to the crown, and it'll also give us just a little bit of a nice curve when you start seeing it come in. So we're going to, after we've chained 1 and turned, we're going to go right back into that stitch and we're going to put in a half double crochet. Remember, a half double crochet is worked by putting 1 loop over your hook, going into your stitch, pulling up 1 loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, and you will pull through all 3. Now, we're going to go ahead and use this row to start our decrease for the crown. So we're going to do 4 double crochets and then 2 double crochets together. And I'll show you how we do that. So we have 1, 2. We're going to go into the next stitch here, which is that slip stitch, the chain 1. So we'll have to go into the chain 1, make half double crochet, go into the top of our Trinity stitch, make a half double crochet, and that gives us 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get some more yarn here. Now we're going to do our double crochet 2 together. Half double crochet 2 together. And this is how I do mine. I will, why does that not look right? Let me back up here a minute to make sure that's a half double crochet. Pretty sure I made one, but I want to make sure. There she goes. Looks better. All right. So we're going to go into this chain one space, and into the top of our Trinity stitch to make one stitch. So all we're going to do to make a half double crochet decrease, and like I said, this is the way I do it. I go into the first chain and just pull up a loop. I didn't loop over, I just pulled up a loop. Then we're going to go into the top of the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And it kind of gives you that faux effects of being a half double crochet without working 2 of them together and kind of getting something a little bulky. So let's move on. We need to make 4 half double crochets. So we're going to go into the chain stitch here and work a half double crochet into the top of the Trinity stitch, make a half double crochet into the chain stitch again, make a half double crochet, and into the top of the next Trinity stitch we'll make a half double crochet. That's 4. Now we're going to do half double crochet 2 together. So in the chain stitch you're going to go in and just pull up a loop. Into the top of the next Trinity stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And that's all you're going to do for this round of the crown. Going to go right into, we went into that stitch, the top, into the chain stitch, there's 1, Trinity, there's 2, chain stitch again, 3, and Trinity stitch, there's 4. We're ready to do now another half double crochet decrease. Go into the chain, pull up a loop. Top of the Trinity stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull all 3. And that's what you're going to do to the end of the round. Now, depending on how large you made your hat, you may or may not end up with this pattern that we're doing of 4 half double crochets and then a decrease. But that's okay, because I'll show you when we get to the end what we do in that case. So I will meet you back around here in just a few minutes. 1, 2, there it is. Couldn't even see it. 3, 4, and then another decrease. All right, I'll meet you back in a minute. All right, I'm back around to the end of my round here. And as you can see, I've just done my last decrease, but I only have 1, 2, 3 stitches left because we don't count this stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and end with 1 half double crochet, and 1 double crochet decrease. I'll get it out there in a minute because I want that decrease here before I connect. I'm going to go in here and pull up a loop and go in here and pull up a loop. Now I always like to end my row with a decrease if I can, because that just pulls this in a little bit right here around where we start and end our row, and it makes for a nice finish off of the row. All right, now as I said, we are not going to turn from here on out, so we're just going to chain 1, go right back into this stitch that we joined into, and we're going to put in a half double crochet. And now we started out with 4 in a decrease. This time we're going to do a 3 in a decrease. So here's 1, 2, 3, and again a decrease. Remember, we just go into the 1 stitch, into the next stitch, 3 loops, pull through all 3. So again, the pattern is going to be 3 half double crochets, and a decrease. Now sometimes, depending on your hat pattern, some patterns will call for you to start with 5 of your main stitch and then do a decrease. I normally, depending on the length of my body here, will just go ahead and start with 4 with a decrease, 3 with a decrease, 2 with a decrease, 1, and then, well, really when I get to the 1, I'll just have to stop and look at my hat, and I'll show you what I mean when we get there. All right, so one more, 3. So there's 1, 2. There's a hair there. Let me pull it out real quick. 2, 3 half double crochets, and then my decrease. And that's your pattern for this round. 3 half doubles. Oh goodness, this yarn's just picking up hair from everywhere. And a decrease. And I'll meet you back around at the end of this round here in just a few moments. With 3 stitches, so again, after this decrease, I'm just going to do 1 half double crochet, and then I'm just going to do a decrease, and we're going to slip stitch into our first half double crochet and chain 1. And I hope that you can see now that your hat, the crown, is starting to pull inward, which is what we want it to do. All right, now this pattern is going to call for us to do 2 half double crochets and then a decrease. So here we go. I'm going to pull out some more yarn here. There you go. So here we go. Right back into that joining stitch. 1, 2, and now we're going to do our decrease. There's our decrease. 1, 2, and a decrease. I'm sorry I hit the camera. 1, 2, and a decrease. So you just keep going around, and I will meet you back at the end of this round to show you how we'll finish off the round, excuse me. I always say rows for everything, but I hope you all understand and forgive me when I do that. All right, see you back in just a moment. When I came down to this one, the end of this row, I've already done a decrease. And like I said, I like to end with a decrease. But in this particular case, since there's only 2 stitches before decrease, I'm just going to go ahead and put in another half double crochet here and then join with a slip stitch. Now again, when you get down to the end of the row and you don't have enough to complete out the original pattern, you just have to make up your own mind whether you want to end with the half double crochet or if you want to end with a half double crochet 2 together. Most of the time I like to end with the pulling it together, but since I have a decrease here, then I don't mind going ahead and just finishing out because it's not going to make that much difference. All right, so now we're down to our last decrease. So we're going to do 1 half double crochet and a decrease all the way around. So working back into that very first joining stitch, I'm going to work a half double crochet, and now we just decrease. Half double crochet and a decrease. Half double crochet and a decrease. And we're just going to work here together because it's not going to take us long to get back around since we're just doing one and a decrease. Back to a half double, a decrease, half double, decrease, and as you can see, we're getting pretty close being back to our beginning here. So this is where we began. I just did a decrease. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more decrease. Like I said, that's totally up to you what it is that you end with. Now, as you can see, we are pretty close to closing her up. Now, at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one round of decreases, but this time I'm going to use a single crochet decrease. I will start out the row with a single crochet, and then I will decrease all the way back around, and then we will tie off and close up our crown here. All right, so we're going to chain one, and we're going to go right back into that chain with a single crochet. Now we're going to do a single crochet decrease, which we've kind of been doing. We're going to go in, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and finish off. Right into the next stitch, pull up a loop, next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through all three, and just keep moving around. Pull up a loop in the next stitch, pull up a loop, and go through all three. And yes, you kind of start fighting with the top of your beanie there. Oh, I didn't realize I was pulling that down by working there. I do apologize. I was trying to keep the light off of that shiny mat I have there. And we're going to end with just one more decrease. All right, we're going to join with a slip stitch into that first single crochet, and then I'm just going to go over to the next one and just do a slip stitch and tie off. Now I'm going to cut myself a length of yarn so I can close up my top here. Go ahead and pull that on through, lock that down. Now I'll get my tapestry needle. And of course, once again, I didn't think to get out my little threader, but that's okay. She'll get in there. All right, now I like going in and out around the post of those single decreased stitches that I created. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go in and out, pull it up a little bit as I go. So I came out of there. I'll go in here and out here. I don't want to pull it too tight or I'll forget where it is I'm at or what I'm looking for. Now some folks will go through the loops up here. I just like to go around the post because I think it gives me a little more security. Around. We're through. And I'm almost back around. Yes, where I want to be. So that came out and I want to go in and back out again. All right, and then we just pull her tight. And as you can see, closes that up really nice. Now, to really make sure it gets closed good, I'm just going to go in through one of these stitches here. Go to the inside of my hat. And then this is where I will really lock that center down. So I've got this all pulled together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go across. Just pick up a loop here, pick up a loop across from it. And as you see, it'll pull a little loop there and start pulling everything tight. I'm going to come across here, pick up a loop, go across and pick up some loops across from it. And that just pulls my hole in really, really tight. And then I'll probably do it one more time. Pick up a stitch here and one there. There we go. And then that's all there is to it. Now I will tie it off here by just running through a couple of stitches. And then just run myself a little bit of a tail down through some loops. And I just kind of meander. All right. So there she is. The double trinity or double the blessing beanie. And as you can see, as we come up here to the crown, it makes a nice transition by using those half double crochets. So it's not just so dramatic where you might stop here and then change to just half double crochets or single crochets. I like using the half double crochet, especially when there's textured stitches and I'm making a hat and I've worked from the bottom up to just kind of give it a soft transition when we get to the crown. Now, if you wish, you can always add a pom-pom or a fuzzy pom-pom, you know, streamers. I know some folks like the little curly Q pom-poms. I'm not a pom-pom person, so I don't normally put them on there. I also don't normally put them on unless I've done this for a commission for a person, because everybody has different tastes. So I kind of leave the topper off. I leave the topper to the person that's going to receive the hat. So there you go, folks. I do hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. It's the first in my "'Tis the Season for Hats, Scarves, and Mittens and Mores." So I do hope that you'll return next week whenever I release another pattern for you. I'm not going to give it away just yet. I mean, they're not all going to be hats, although they are my favorite to make. But anyway, just wanted to start you off with a new hat for your collection or to give as a gift. So if you do happen to make this little pattern, please go over to my Crochet Story Facebook page and drop me a picture. I really would like to see what your transition for this pattern can turn out to be. So once again, thank you all for being here. I greatly appreciate it. Be sure that you leave your little thumb, and if you like the video, share it out. Until next time, folks, always remember, be the light out there in the darkness for someone today, because you never know, could be your light they need to see. Until next time, I love you. Bye.